is love purely a feeling?
Yeah.
Or maybe a choice, a chemical reaction? Or is it something, far more profound, like a universal force that shapes our health, our minds, and frankly, our very survival?
Exactly.
It's one of the most talked about yet deeply enigmatic human experiences, isn't it?
Absolutely. And love isn't just poetry or some fleeting emotion. It's really fundamental, a human experience with profound scientific, psychological, and even spiritual dimensions. So our mission today in this deep dive is to unpack the diverse forms and depths of love. We're drawing from some fascinating sources to help you truly grasp its critical, undeniable role in your overall well-being.
Okay, let's unpack this then. What truly happens when we, quote, fall in love? Is it just magic, or is there some pretty fascinating science at play here?
Oh, it's definitely both. Science has indeed identified distinct stages in romantic love, and they're driven by a powerful cascade of hormones and neurotransmitters.
Okay.
It often begins with lust, that initial intense physical or sexual desire. This phase is largely driven by hormones like testosterone and estrogen. It's kind of nature's way of getting our attention, typically lasting, a few weeks or months.
So the initial spark, almost like a primal impulse. But that's not really love yet, is it? More like the ignition switch.
Precisely. That's a good way to put it, the ignition. From lust, we often transition into attraction.
Okay.
Now, this is where it becomes more individualized. You're focusing on a specific person. And this stage involves neurotransmitters like dopamine and norepinephrine flooding the brain's pleasure centers.
The feel-good chemicals.
Exactly. It's what gives you that intense excitement, maybe an increased heart rate, sometimes even a reduced need for sleep or appetite. You're almost obsessively focused on that person.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. How long does that intense phase usually last?
Well, the research suggests this attraction phase generally lasts between, say, 1.5 to 3 years.
That sounds like a lot of intense, exhilarating energy, but maybe also kind of chaotic. Is that why falling in love can sometimes feel turbulent, maybe even stressful at first?
It absolutely can be turbulent. You actually see rising cortisol levels, the stress hormone.
Right.
But if the connection deepens, we move into the third stage, attachment.
Attachment.
This is the long-term bonding, the stuff that promotes relationships lasting years, even decades. It's based on a deeper sense of security and commitment, whether through marriage, shared kids, or just deep mutual friendship.
And the chemicals change again.
They do. This phase is linked to higher levels of oxytocin and vasopressin, often called our bonding hormones. And thankfully, those initial stress hormones, like cortisol, they begin to decrease. Things calm down, biochemically speaking.
That's a fascinating look at the biology. But, okay, if it starts as this chemical dance, what explains, the enduring selfless love we see, like a parent for a child, or even a really deep friendship that lasts forever? Where does the biology give way to something more timeless, maybe more philosophical?
That's a great question. And it's exactly why thinkers across millennia have grappled with love. The ancient Greeks, for instance, didn't just have one word for love, they had several to capture its many facets.
Like eros.
Exactly. There's eros, which we often associate with passionate, romantic, and often sexual desire. Now, Plato suggested that while it can start off a bit egocentric, it could evolve. It could inspire us to appreciate the beauty of the soul moving beyond just the physical.
Interesting. So it can grow.
It can. Then there's philia. This describes affectionate regard, that friendly feeling, the kind of love you feel for friends, family, maybe even your community or nation.
Right, like camaraderie.
Sort of. Aristotle believed it could arise from shared utility or pleasantness, or ideally shared virtue, respecting someone's character.
So eros is the spark, philia is the deeper connection. What about that unconditional love, the kind people talk about in a spiritual sense?
That would likely be agape. This is seen as universal, selfless, almost divine love, often attributed to, say, God's love for humanity in some traditions. It's spontaneous. It isn't dependent on merit or familiarity. Like, think of pure charity, maybe. What's remarkable, looking across these ancient philosophies, not just the Greeks, but cultures across Asia too, is how they already sensed that love isn't just one thing. They recognized its diverse forms, from selfish desire to selfless devotion, from personal affection to universal compassion, long before we had neuroscience to map it out.
So it's not just a Western idea.
Not at all. For instance, in Chinese Confucianism, you have Ren. It embodies humanity, virtue, focusing on harmonious societal relationships. It starts with family and extends outwards through kindness, loyalty. Or think about Japan. The concept of amai describes that fundamental infant-mother dependency as an archetypal form of love. It highlights our deep need to be cared for, to be protected. It's seen as foundational.
Wow. So these ideas are really deeply ingrained across history and culture.
Absolutely. These concepts really underscore how multifaceted love has been understood for, well, ages.
So, okay, what does all this mean for us then? Why has love been so central to our very existence, crossing cultures and centuries? Is it purely a social construct, or is there something more fundamental?
Well, from an evolutionary and adaptive perspective, love provides immense benefits for survival. Think about it.
Okay.
It promotes parental support. That's absolutely vital for human offspring because we have an incredibly long dependency period compared to other species.
Right, kids need care for a long time.
Exactly, and love fostered social support systems, groups working together, helping each other out, and that aided the development and expansion of the human species. It literally helped us survive and thrive.
Makes sense. Safety in numbers, bonded by connection.
Precisely. And don't forget reproduction. Love facilitates pair bonding, which is linked to sexual reproduction, crucial for things like DNA repair and masking potentially harmful genetic mutations.
Oh, never thought of it that way.
And even psychologists like Abraham Maslow recognized its importance. He placed love near the middle of his famous hierarchy of needs. He saw it as a driving factor for psychological fulfillment, a truly basic human need for well-being, not just a luxury.
So we've talked about the primal urges, the ancient wisdom. But how do psychologists today actually break down love in our modern relationships? Are there frameworks that help us understand its everyday complexities? How it actually, shows up?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where psychological models of love come in really handy, offering practical frameworks. Robert Sternberg's triangular theory of love is a really powerful example. He's well known for this.
The triangle theory, right. I've heard of that.
That's the one. He identified 3 core components. First, intimacy. This isn't just physical. It's the emotional closeness, the bonding, that feeling of being understood and understanding your partner.
Okay. Emotional connection.
Second, passion. This is the drive that leads to romance, physical attraction, sexual consummation, that intense longing component.
The spark.
Kind of, yeah. And third, commitment. This is the decision component. The choice to stay in the relationship in the short term and the commitment to maintain that love in the long term, working through challenges.
Intimacy, passion, commitment, and different combinations create different types of love, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us some practical examples? Like, what does that look like in real life?
Absolutely. It makes it much clearer. So if you have intimacy and passion, but maybe not much commitment yet, Sternberg calls that romantic love. Think of those initial intense dating phases, lots of deep conversations, strong attraction, very exciting.
Yeah, the honeymoon phase, maybe?
Could be, yeah. Now, if you have intimacy and commitment, but perhaps the initial fire, the passion, has softened over time, that's companionate love. This is often seen in long-term, stable marriages where maybe the kids are grown, or in really deep friendships or close family bonds. It's built on trust, shared life experiences, and it's stronger than just friendship because of that explicit commitment element.
Right. It sounds like companionate love is that sturdy, reliable foundation that many long-term relationships evolve towards.
Yeah.
What about the kind of love that might feel exciting, but perhaps isn't built on that deep connection?
That could be what Sternberg calls fatuous love. That's passion combined with commitment, but without deep intimacy.
How does that happen?
Think of a whirlwind courtship. Maybe people meet, feel intense passion, get married quickly, but they haven't really built that deep emotional understanding or bond. It can be risky because there's no intimate foundation.
Gotcha. And what if?
Yeah.
What if the spark and the closeness are gone, but people stay together?
That would be empty love. That's just commitment without intimacy or passion. Sometimes, Sternberg suggests, arranged marriages might start here, hoping the other components develop. Or, sadly, it's where a relationship that once had more might end up if the intimacy and passion die out, but the commitment remains, for whatever reason.
That sounds, empty.
It can be. The ideal, though, according to Sternberg, and he stresses it's challenging to achieve and maintain, is consummate love.
The trifecta.
Exactly. A blend of intimacy, passion, and commitment. But he wisely cautions, and this is crucial, without active expression, even the greatest of loves can die. It's not a static state you reach and then just coast. It needs nurturing.
That's a really important point. It highlights how fragile even the ideal can be if we don't actively work at it. And I know there are even more nuanced forms of love beyond Sternberg's triangle, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned compassionate love earlier.
Indeed. Other researchers, like Berscheid, have built on these ideas. Her updated model adds concepts like attachment love, that strong emotional bond with a key attachment figure, and compassionate love as distinct, though often overlapping, types.
Okay.
And it's true, we can experience multiple types of love within one relationship, and feelings definitely evolve over time.
So tell me more about compassionate love. It sounds different from romantic or even companionate love.
It is. It's defined as more of an altruistic or selfless love, directed towards different targets, not just a partner, but maybe family, friends, strangers, even humanity as a whole.
Like agape, almost.
Very similar vibe, yes. What's fascinating is its strong link to pro-social behavior. Things like helping others, volunteering, providing social support to people in need.
So it makes you want to do good things for others.
Exactly. And it's distinct from empathy, though they're correlated. Some research even suggests compassionate love can be a stronger predictor of helping behavior than just feeling empathy alone.
Really? Why is that?
Well, empathy is feeling with someone, while compassionate love adds that motivation to act for their well-being. Interestingly, people generally report feeling more compassionate love for those closer to them, family, friends, especially romantic partners, than for strangers or humanity in general.
That makes sense.
And that influences the type of pro-social behavior we engage in. We might volunteer time for strangers or causes, but we tend to provide direct social support, like listening, helping with problems more for our close connections.
And speaking of the self, let's not forget the love we have for ourselves. That's a crucial piece of this puzzle, isn't it? But often misunderstood. People might think it's selfish.
Absolutely. And it's not selfish, not in its healthy form. We're talking about healthy self-love, or the Greek term philosia. It's much closer to healthy self-esteem.
Okay.
It's basically a cognitive and emotional appraisal of your own worth. It's the foundation through which we think, feel, and act. It really influences our relationships with ourselves, with others, with the world.
So what are the benefits of having that healthy self-love?
Oh, the benefits are profound. It fosters resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks. It encourages openness to growth experiences, to learning, to forming healthy relationships. It gives you a greater tolerance for taking reasonable risks. It's linked to being quicker to experience joy, to self-acceptance, accepting yourself, warts and all. And crucially, it fosters forgiveness, both of yourself and of others. It allows you to show up more authentically in the world.
It sounds like the bedrock for everything else, really.
In many ways, it is. It's hard to genuinely love others if you don't have a healthy regard for yourself.
Now, let's connect all of this, the biology, the philosophy, the different types, to something really personal for everyone listening. Your health and happiness. Because the presence or the absence of love profoundly shapes our mental and physical well-being.
The science here is incredibly clear and, frankly, quite powerful. Love in its various forms, both romantic and non-romantic connection, is essential for our overall well-being and even survival.
How does it actually work? What's happening in the body?
Well, engaging in loving activities, feeling connected, expressing affection, receiving support, activates key brain regions, areas responsible for emotion, attention, motivation, memory. It literally lights up your brain in positive ways.
Okay.
It also helps regulate the autonomic nervous system. Over time, this leads to significant stress reduction. Those social bonds that stem from love enhance both physical and mental health. They foster resilience, compassion, closeness.
So it buffers stress.
Exactly. It can even boost immune function and promote physical healing. There's some fascinating research on that. And interestingly, these health benefits seem to become even more pronounced in older married couples, suggesting a cumulative effect of long-term supportive partnership.
Wow. So love is literally good for your health.
Unequivocally, yes.
But what happens when these crucial connections break down? Because the flip side of love's power must be the agony of its loss, right?
Oh, absolutely. The absence or loss of love can have devastating effects. It's not just in your head. Your brain actually registers the emotional pain of losing someone important, like through a breakup or bereavement, in some of the same areas that process physical pain.
Ouch. So heartbreak really does hurt.
It genuinely does, physiologically. In romantic relationships, when things go wrong, the distress is often viewed through the lens of attachment theory as separation distress. It can trigger what some researchers call a primal panic, when our basic needs for comfort, care, and connection aren't met by our attachment figure.
Primal panic. That sounds intense.
It is. And it can lead to insecure attachment strategies kicking into high gear. Someone might relentlessly seek support, but do it with protest, anger, anxiety, what attachment folks call hyperactivating.
Like clinging, maybe?
Sort of, but often with distress. Or The opposite can happen. Someone might shut down emotionally, withdraw, avoid closeness altogether as a way to cope that's deactivating, trying to suppress the need.
Both sound like painful ways to cope.
They are. And in extreme cases, intense emotional pain can lead to a real physiological danger known as broken heart syndrome or Takotsubo cardiomyopathy.
I've heard of that. Can that actually happen?
Yes. It's a temporary heart condition often brought on by extreme stress, like the death of a loved one. Research has linked this risk to higher activity in the amygdala, that brain region critical to our stress response.
That's terrifying.
It underscores the power of our emotional bonds. And perhaps even more widespread, though less sudden, is the impact of chronic loneliness. There's a growing, really alarming body of evidence linking loneliness and a lack of human connection to significantly increased risks of serious health problems.
Like what?
Things like stroke, heart attack, type 2 diabetes, dementia, depression, anxiety. Loneliness isn't just a sad feeling, it's physiologically stressful. It can keep your body's stress response system chronically activated, which wears you down over time.
It's truly sobering to realize how profoundly our emotional connections or lack thereof impact our very physical survival. And sometimes the pain of love lost, or maybe love that feels unattainable, can lead to unhealthy patterns, right?
Yeah.
Like addiction.
Yes, absolutely. Individuals can become fixated on past relationships, unable to let go, perpetuating emotional distress in a way that can feel very much like an addiction. The longing, the craving, the withdrawal if they try to disconnect. And addiction itself, more broadly, can often be viewed as a desperate, albeit destructive, search for comfort or regulation in a state of emotional isolation or pain. It frequently co-occurs with or promotes depression. These are profound, real-life consequences that really hammer home how critical secure connection is for us.
Can we look at some examples, maybe how this plays out and how people can heal?
Definitely. Let me share 2 brief examples from couples therapy, specifically using emotionally focused therapy, or EFT, which is grounded in attachment science and aims to reshape these painful patterns into secure bonds.
Right.
Take George and Diane, married 32 years. Diane constantly protested, sort of hyperactivated her attachment needs. She felt desperately lonely, feared abandonment by George, and this came out as angry criticism.
Right. The protest.
Exactly. George, hearing her anger as demands and criticism, felt ashamed, inadequate, and afraid of rejection. So he withdrew his deactivating strategy often into his work, hobbies, and sometimes substance use, which fueled his depression.
The vicious cycle.
A classic one. Their fights were volatile, impacting their health. Diane's blood pressure was high. George battled depression. The therapist helped them reframe these negative emotions, not seeing each other as the enemy, but seeing the emotions as desperate attempts to connect, driven by underlying fears.
Shifting the perspective.
Precisely. By uncovering those deeper fears, Diane's fear of being alone, George's fear of failure, and helping them express vulnerability, they reshaped their bond. They moved from those rigid, negative patterns to becoming sources of comfort and security for each other. And importantly, their health outcomes actually improved.
That's incredible. Just by changing the emotional dynamic.
It shows the power of secure connection.
What about another example?
Okay, consider Jonathan and Dino, a gay couple. They faced not only internal struggles, but also societal stigma, and later an HIV diagnosis for Jonathan. They had their own negative cycle they called the burnt toast tango.
Catchy name.
Yeah. Dino experienced intense terror when Jonathan emotionally withdrew, tapping into a primal fear of abandonment. Jonathan, feeling shame and inadequacy triggered by Dino's complaints, would shut down to protect himself.
Again, that push-pull.
Exactly. A really pivotal moment, a trauma for their relationship, was when Jonathan received his HIV diagnosis. During the incredibly vulnerable time, he perceived Dino as inaccessible, not there for him in the way he needed. This became what EFT calls an attachment injury.
An injury, like a specific betrayal of trust.
Kind of. It's a specific incident where one partner felt abandoned or let down by the other during a moment of urgent need. It creates a lasting wound.
How did they work through that?
Through therapy. Jonathan was eventually able to vulnerably express the depth of his pain and fear from that time, explaining why he shut down. Dino, guided by the therapist, was able to truly hear and understand the significance of this injury from Jonathan's perspective, acknowledging the impact.
So really listening and understanding.
Yes. Processing that injury, hearing each other's deepest fears and longings without defensiveness allowed them to move towards forgiveness, rebuild trust, and ultimately strengthen their bond. And interestingly, this emotional repair also improved their overall relationship satisfaction, their individual well-being, and even enhanced their sexual connection, showing how these deep attachment patterns really can change.
These examples really bring it home. It's clear that while love brings incredible benefits, its complexities and challenges are just as real. Ultimately, after this whole deep dive, what's the key takeaway? What should we really hold on to about the emotion of love?
I think the core message is this. Whether it's the passionate bond of a romantic partnership, the deep trust of a lifelong friendship, the care within a family, or even that broader sense of universal compassion, secure connection to others is absolutely fundamental. It's a bedrock of our psychological well-being, and honestly, it's fundamental for our very survival as a species.
Connection is key.
It truly is. And, researchers are even starting to talk about love, not just as these grand long-term states, but also as moments of positive connection. These micro moments that can happen briefly, even with strangers, a shared smile, a moment of understanding. It emphasizes how accessible and immediate connection can be in our daily lives, if we're open to it.
That's it for this deep dive into the emotion of love. We've journeyed through its chemistry, its ancient philosophies, its many modern forms, and its really profound impact on our health and our relationships.
And perhaps this raises an important question for all of us. In a world that feels increasingly connected digitally, but where loneliness is also rising, how can we intentionally cultivate more of these vital moments of positive connection and nurture the deeper forms of love in our own lives? Not just for our happiness, important as that is, but for our very health and survival.
Something definitely worth reflecting on. We hope this exploration has given you plenty to think about and maybe even apply in your own life. Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep diving deep.